Shalom, friends. It's Rabbi Josh. I don't know if you've ever received a Christmas message from a rabbi, but you're about to. I want to talk about something you've probably heard about, but maybe don't know the extent of, and then I want to kind of riff on it and tell you why it's been on my mind. So the thing you may have heard of is that a lot of Christmas songs were written by Jewish people. I mean, a lot of them. So I'll just give you a list, a little. I won't read the whole thing because it's pretty crazy. White Christmas was written by Irving Berlin. Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire was written by Mel Torme, also known as the Velvet Fog, which is a great nickname. I didn't even know he was Jewish. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Johnny Marks, Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, also Johnny Marks. Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow. Sammy Kahn, Jules Stein wrote that. Silver Bells, which I didn't even know was a song. Winter Wonderland, written by Felix Bernard. I could go on and on because the list is truly pretty astonishing. And I just think it's funny at a time when we're having a conversation about the national identity and our national past and our national myth, and whether, as our vice president recently said, we are a Christian country. I think he said, thank God Almighty, we are a Christian country. I have no doubt that he's very sincere in that and that he would like us to be a Christian country. But the truth is always much more complex because it is the nature of culture to be complex and multi-layered and to be informed by voices that come from all over. And this podcast is very much about finding conversations that take place at the nexus of multiple identities and complex identities. That first of all, anybody who comes on this show as a Jewish artist is going to share their own experience of what those labels mean to them. What is an artist? What does it mean to be Jewish? Many of the people on our show, on this podcast, express their Judaism through religious observance, and many of them do not. So already the identity of what it means to be Jewish is complex, but certainly to be a Jew in America is complex. And of course, and this is really my point, being an American is a complex identity. The nature of this country cannot be simply defined in any one way. And as much as those who currently hold the reins of power would like it to be, it is not now and never has been a Christian nation. And this is on my mind because of this speech by Vice President Vance, who stated with a authority matched only by his apparent ignorance that the identity of this nation is a Christian one. Now, obviously, the nation is predominantly Christian. But if we go back and look at those who founded this nation, we find that, in fact, it's always been more complex. So I'm watching Ken Burns' documentary, The American Revolution, which my guess is some of you have watched that already. It's pretty great. I'm on episode 3, so please don't give me any spoilers. But it reminded me, though he doesn't address this in the documentary, at least not yet, that I had read that those who founded this country were not all Christians by any means. Some of them clearly were, plainly were, and some of them were, many of them were deists, which was an intellectual trend at the time, which asserted that there was some kind of overarching divine force, some transcendent force guiding history, but that it was not something that manifested in revelation. So, for example, somebody who was a deist might hold that Jesus was not the Son of God, and Jesus certainly didn't perform any miracles, but held up ethical teachings that were admirable. And in fact, that's probably a commonly held Jewish belief about Jesus. So there were deists, some of whom went to church and some of whom did not. And then there were those like Thomas Paine who rejected religion completely and mocked Christianity. So these are not new facts. These are things that are well established and well known, and we have to revisit them every few years because there are those who want to say about our complex culture that it is simple. There are many people who want simple answers, and in a time of complexity and an unknown future, in time of anxiety, people always go back to questions about national identity and try to make assertions that are false. And this matters to me not only politically, but it matters to me because as a person who studies and loves culture and is fascinated by how cultures develop, I know that it is inherently complex, and to make any assertion about it offends me, not only as a Jew, but also as an American and as somebody who hosts a podcast about culture. This podcast revels in the complexity of our identities, the complexity of American identity, the complexity of Jewish identity, and I wanted just to use the Christmas song list as a way into this conversation. So let that be my rabbinic Christmas message. I hope everybody throughout the world who celebrates Christmas is having a killer time and enjoying it and belting out songs, whether they're written by Jews or anybody else. And we should all be safe and healthy and happy and be committed to the truth and looking through the complexity and the beauty and the difficulty of the narratives of our past, who we have been and who we're becoming. Thanks so much for listening.